Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Bold Unstoppable Show. I am Dr. Rochel Marie Lawson, and today I have some phenomenal ladies with me, four panelists today, as we're going to talk about mental load matters, navigating the invisible work of women. And so I want to give you a synopsis of the show. And what it is from juggling careers to managing household, we women often carry the invisible mental load that goes unnoticed and undervalued. And in this episode, we shine a light on the unspoken challenges women face and how to set boundaries, delegate, and prioritize our self care. And the panelists will share their personal strategies for reducing burnout, redefining balance, and advocating for an equitable partnership at home and at work or in your business. So that's the synopsis. Now, I like to tell you all to find a place to sit so you can engage with the conversation that's going to be occurring here today on the Bold Unstoppable Show. And while you're doing that, also, I want to say please subscribe to the show and share the show with those that you love and care about. And so while you're doing that, I'm going to take care of some business. I want to thank our first sponsor, Blissful Living for You at Blissful Living, the number 4, the letter U.com. You want to check them out if you're really wanting to amplify your wellness, your wisdom, or your wealth. And they have some wonderful events coming up, both virtual and live, that you definitely are going to want to be a part of. And in addition to that, they have books on the site that you can utilize, blogs that are full of information about wisdom that will help you transform your life. And of course, a link to this show as they are one of our sponsors. So if you want to just enhance all aspects of your wellness, wisdom, and wealth, you want to check out Blissful Living at Blissful Living, the number 4, the letter U.com. Now, our next sponsor is All Day Cable Incorporated, which is a telecommunications installation company located in the heart of Silicon Valley. They specialize in installing voice, data, fiber optic cabling, all things network distribution. And they service small, medium, and very large corporations. They've been in business since 1990, and they are a women-owned business. So if you have a need in that arena, and they do service the western region of the United States. If you have a need, please reach out to them at Blissful Living. I'm sorry. You can reach out to them at All Day Cable Inc. at alldaycableinc.com to help you have blissful living in your telecommunications wherever you may be working. Alrighty, so again, let me open up the show properly and say hello, beautiful, bold, and unstoppable queens and very smart kings. Welcome to another Healing Heart opening episode of the Blissful Living's Bold Unstoppable Show. Now, I am your host, Dr. Rochel Marie Lawson, the Queen of Philly Fabulous. And today we're unlocking something that often too much stays in the shadows. It stays invisible and it doesn't often get recognized or taken care of. And that's the invisible mental load of women. You know what I'm talking about now. If you're a lady, you definitely know what I'm talking about. The checklist that our lives focus on, that are in our head 24/7, the emotional energy it takes to remember birthdays, schedule doctor's appointments, manage the household, plan meetings, keep the family nurtured, and
working or what?
All while building businesses, leading to teams, and or climbing the corporate ladder. The unspoken burden is real out there, and it's heavy, and sometimes it can be very devastating. So it's time that we name it, we claim it, and we change it. And today, the panel of incredible women with me is going to shine a light on just how deep this silent struggle is. You'll hear them talk about burnout, boundaries, and bold moves we must take to protect our peace, reclaim our time, and advocate for the support we deserve at home and in the workplace. So, as I mentioned at the start of the show, find a place to sit, get your favorite beverage. Today, I'm drinking out of my She Decides cup, some cherry lemon lemonade, and tell your family to give you a few moments as you engage and listen to this wonderful information that the panelists are going to share. And while you're doing that, let's have the panelists of today's show introduce themselves. Let's start with you, Gwendolyn. You're muted.
Hello, everybody. Super excited to be here. I'm Gwendolyn Young, CEO of your virtual admin expert. I am super passionate about helping high level leaders and everyday women protect their time, their energy, and their peace without feeling guilty. And I'm excited about this topic because, as a wife, a grandmother, a CEO, a speaker, community advocate, that invisible, that mental load is real. So I'm excited to be here.
Well, thank you, Gwendolyn, for saying yes to being an expert panelist on today's show. Let's go to you, Miss Kate O'Malley. Tell us about you.
Dr. Rochel, thank you so much for having us on and connect with your audience. My name is Katie O'Malley. I'm the founder and principal coach of Encourage Coaching, and I focus mostly on working to elevate more women, people of color, LGBTQ folks into the rooms where decisions are being made, because until we're elevated at the top of organizations, there's never going to be joy and justice in work for most of us. And this is a topic that is very close to my heart, especially having just finalized a divorce where I was man keeping, which is part of this unpaid labor that we engage in every day. And can't wait to talk about the research and also share my personal experience to help people feel less alone.
Love it. Well, welcome, Katie. Thank you for saying yes. Now, no, boquete. Did I get that right? No.
Yes,
boquete.
correct.
It is your time. Tell us about you.
Hi, I am the Chief Ambassador of Transformation Leader, where we look to impact 1 million lives by 2026. We specialize in training people in digital transformation implementation in organizations, upskilling them with digital skills as well as leadership skills. I personally mentor about 20 people a year in this space. And a lot of the people that I work with are women who are trying to juggle, work-life balance, trying to get that career ladder. And as someone who is a CEO of my own organization, I definitely know the pains. I don't have a divorced man keep story to share, but but I do understand the pains, and I'm really happy to be here with both you, Dr. Rochel, Gwendolyn, and Katie. Thank you for having me on your show.
You're very welcome. Now we're going to pop in and take our first break, but there you have it. You have the panelists, their background, what they come completely compared to share their compassion and wisdom with you. And as we engage in dialogue, you're going to leave more fulfilled with how you can manage your own mental aspects of what you do in your life. We'll be right back after this short break. All righty, welcome back to the Bold Unstoppable Show. It's Dr. Rochel Marie Lawson here, known as the Queen of Feeling Fabulous. And I'm going to start with this first question. Let's start, ladies, by naming it. What does mental load mean to you personally? And when did you first become aware that you were carrying it? And let's start with you, Gwendolyn.
Oh, so what does mental load mean? I hear overwhelm when I heir that word, right? It's to me, it's labor that nobody else recognizes from the outside. It's the thoughts running through your head, that list that just won't stop, everything that you need to do, keep track of, and nobody else has any idea. They just kind of expect that you're going to do it, right? It just kind of lands on your lap. And so that's what I think about when I hear mental load.
Love it, love it, love it. All right, Katie, what about you? What does it mean to you?
Yeah, +1 to everything that Gwendolyn said. And then what I think about and what I hear are coins falling and dollar signs just popping up in my head. Because according to the World Economic Forum, every year globally, women invest $10.8 trillion in unpaid labor. So if we were actually getting paid dollars for all of the unpaid labor and the mental load, which for for me, my training and education is as a therapist. So everything is a feeling before it's a thought. Everything is a thought before it's a behavior. All three are interconnected. And so the mental load is all three of those things. And imagine if those $10.8 trillion worth of work and that time and effort didn't get done. We literally keep the world running by carrying.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow. That is an amazing statistic. I think about, when I was raising my kids and managing a business and a second business and, having my career as a nurse and all that kind of stuff and attending dance lessons, dance competitions, football, baseball, basketball practice, the games, the tournaments, and then managing my own health and well-being as well as managing, my family's health and well-being. I just did it. I should have been getting paid a ton of money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you add kids on top of that, Dr. Rochel. You've got dentist appointments, doctor visits, parent-teacher conferences, right? School supply lists, all the errands that go along with all of that. And it's like, we would have paid somebody to do this.
Wow. It's amazing. I mean, I'm loving this. So, Nona, what's your take on mental load and what does it mean to you? I'm going to change it a little bit. When did you first become aware of the mental load that women carry?
So when I think about mental load, I actually think of brains sparking. So I think of AI models. I work in data a lot, so that's probably why. And you have to train your model on so much data so that it's able to do these things simultaneously. And I think of women are kind of like the walking, talking AI models out there because there's so much that you're keeping in your mind that you don't even know. It's like it's so automatic. Like your husband will say, "Hey, I need to go to the doctor on Thursday," and it's hanging in there. Or your dad's not feeling well. Right now, you're just in the back. At least in the back of my mind, I'm thinking about my dad. Okay, I need to double check that he did go to his hospital appointment, and it's like it's not even like someone has asked you to do this or make you do this. It just happens. So I definitely visually that's what I imagine. The first time I ever heard about the mental load was I follow UN Women, and they share statistics like the one you shared, Katie, like where I was just like, oh damn, this is a real thing. And like named this, okay? And I think that's something that a lot of women probably aren't even aware of, that this is an actual pandemic, if you want to call it, that we're not really able to articulate because we don't have the words for it.
Very interesting what you said. And as you were talking, I started thinking about, and I used to cook. I was I don't want to say a crazy woman, but I used to, of course, clean up the whole big old house with a job and running businesses or with running my businesses and the kids and stuff. But I also cooked when my kids were out of school. I cooked every meal. So I cooked them breakfast. They had a home cooked lunch because I didn't eat fast food, so they didn't get that. Dinner every single night, and I just did it. It was just what I did. I didn't think really twice about it. It was just what I did. I must have been this automatic pilot robot chick because when I think about it, like sometimes I even think, how the hell did I do all that? But I did. So I was carrying a mental load of just not only my own physical health, mental, emotional, spiritual well-being, that of my family, and then of my businesses. And it sometimes it was overwhelming, and I can see why now, because I was this crazy woman trying to did it all, but it was just normal operation for me.
Yes.
Let me ask you ladies this question now. Can you share a moment where the invisible load nearly broke you or woke you up to the need for setting boundaries or making changes in your life to protect your physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional well-being?
Ooh, that's a loaded one.
I can go.
First, no, the time. So,
yeah, sure. I actually have a very specific example. It was when I decided to move from corporate to run my own business. And before I did that, I had a conversation not only with my nuclear family, but with, my parents, my siblings, because of the role that I play in my family, and being very clear that, I wouldn't be able to show up the way that I've been showing up before, because I know that this is going to take time. And during that transition, no one respected any of those boundaries. And I still felt obligated to show up the same way I've always been showing up, which caused me, like, I remember just feeling super overwhelmed, bursting into tears, and having to have a really hard conversation with my family to be like, this is just not okay. I cannot show up in the same way as I've always been, because I'm building a business from scratch and I'm doing it on my own. I don't have like investors putting in $20 million so this thing like pops off. So that is definitely when I felt like I was at the breaking point. I'm lucky that my husband is super supportive, and he's actually one of the I would say advocates of me being very protective about my space and my time. And he is the one who'd even like call me out and be like, you're like enabling some of this behavior. When I had to hear it like 3 times before I was like, you're right. So it's like, because you also don't recognize it. Like,
Right.
it's just, yeah.
That's funny. That's a key word there. Ladies, we don't often recognize the behavior of what we do, that leads to this mental overload. And it does really stay under the surface, so to speak, until it can't stay under the surface anymore. Either something happens to stop you, someone brings it to your attention, and sometimes they have to do it in a forceful manner, or something breaks down. And so this is why I do these shows, because I don't want us ladies to be suffering. We are queens and we should be ruling our empires. Don't be a crazy woman like I was when I was young. But at the time, I didn't know it was crazy. I was just, I just did it, just because how I don't know, I was raised. I don't know. But, we don't no longer need to pass that kind of burdens for our girls to bear as they go forward in life and travel down their path to bliss. We have to take a quick break, you guys, but we will be back to the Bold Unstoppable show with my fabulous guests, Katie, Nono, and Miss Gwendolyn. We'll be right back in just a few moments. Okay, welcome back to the Bold Unstoppable show, where we're talking about the mental load that we women face, and we often do not even recognize it, which is the scary thing. And I'm totally guilty of that. Told you, ladies and gentlemen, that this show was gonna be loaded. And guys, you can also take this information that we're sharing and use it wisely to help support yourself and that fabulous woman in your life, to recognize this mental load stuff that we don't have to carry on our heads, on our backs, on our shoulders, that actually end up breaking us down. So ladies, my next question is, why do you think the mental load is often expected of women, and how do we begin shifting that dynamic of what that expectation is in our homes and in our workplaces? And so let's go with you, Katie. What do you think?
Yeah, Dr. Rochel, it's so interesting. I think even if we can take the example that you gave, being superwoman, super mom, running multiple businesses, home cooking every meal, and that period or season of our human history with our kiddos growing up observing that, right? Both our boys, girls, anywhere falling on the gender spectrum, seeing everything that mom does, seeing how it's portrayed in the media. This is what mom does. This is what dad does, right? And even though women now are in the workforce actually at a higher rate, going to college at a higher rate than men, the expectations for what work gets done in the home and what work belongs to women in the workplace, which used to be a lot of administrative secretarial work, still belongs to us because we've been so socialized to see that this is where it happens. And so I think one of my favorite resources actually comes from Eve Rodsky, and she developed the Fair Play system, which is essentially getting 2 partners together to say, here's everything that needs to get done around the house. And it's a stack of cards. You divide it up. Here's currently who's doing what. And inevitably, the woman's stack is like this and the man's stack is like this. And then you get to visually see, is this fair? And how can we divide it up? Because I think sometimes we just default to it because we've been socialized that way. It's easier. We're conflict, not we women, but people tend to be a little more conflict averse. It's just easier for me to do it. And we can start pushing back on that a little bit, along with, to Nono's point, recognizing how we're enabling it, which requires a lot of self-awareness and reflection, but also recognizing when the man is engaging in a practice called weaponized incompetence, where they will fold the laundry incorrectly, or be late to pick up the kiddo, or pick the wrong gift or the wrong wrapping paper up. All right, I clearly don't know what I'm doing. You should keep this on your to-do list in the future, which is just an excuse. So don't accept incompetence.
Katie, you said a lot in there.
I'm sorry.
No.
That was good.
Girl, we can't tell you
Yeah.
about it at all. We really can't tell you passionate about it. But no, I think it's important. You share some really insightful information. And I think a lot of times we get so caught up in the doing that we really do not think about what we're actually doing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm totally guilty of that. I mean, I was just doing it. It was basically just how I was wired at that moment in time. And it's funny, I have a boy and a girl, and they each tell me or ask me, Mom, I don't know how you did it. You were at everything. You were going to work at, certain parts of my time. I was working on an MBA and an advanced nurse practitioner degree, running a business, having to go to class all week. It was just great. And I'm like, I don't know how I did it either, because I never really thought about it. I just did it because I thought that was expected of me. I thought it was an expectation of me. And of course, I wanted to succeed and didn't want to be a failure. So if there was any inkling that something wasn't going to go the way I perceived it or wanted it to be, guess what? Yeah. I took that on too, to make sure, to enable the situation so it came out how I wanted it to be. I want to take a real quick break, and then I want to come back and ask this question, but I'm going to ask it to you now, ladies, and so you can contemplate your answer. What boundaries have you had to put in place to protect your time, energy, and your peace? And how did others respond when you did this? We're going to come back and we're going to have the ladies share with us some wisdom behind that particular question. We'll be right back to the Bold Unstoppable show in just a few moments. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Bold Unstoppable show. I have my fabulous panelists, Gwendolyn Young, Katie O'Malley, and Nono Bokete. And we are talking about the mental load that as women take on without even knowing it. And it's amazing, some of the information that's being shared. Hopefully it's opening your eyes of both female capacity, male capacity, and all genders that roll how they roll. Because women do this, and it's something we do. But I also know a few guys that have fallen into this as well. So my question I have for the panelists before we went to break was, what boundaries have you had to put in place to protect your time, energy, and peace? And how did others respond when you did? So Gwendolyn, we're going to go back to you. Let's start with you. What did you have to do?
Yeah, there were quite a few things that I had to do, back to Nono and Katie's point. One really being making that labor visible, right? Mm-hmm. Literally showing other people, whether that was family members or clients or team members, all of the things that were currently on my plate that we needed to get off and get to someone else. And so I started to put me first, right? I started to look at, what are my non-negotiables? What is it that I needed in order to feel safe, in order to feel protected, in order to feel peace? And then I started putting time restraints on place. You can't talk to me during such and such times, right? If it was for business, I'm not taking calls on this day and during these times. For family, it was, no, this is my peaceful, protected time, my quiet time during this 1 hour. I'm not your mother, right? I'm not your wife. I'm not any of the things, right? I am just me, and I am going to sit with myself and God or whomever that I want to do or be in that moment. But this period of time is for me, right? I started saying no to a lot of things, right? Sometimes I think back to what Katie was saying, we get that role by default, right? Maybe the other parent isn't in the home, or maybe they work crazy hours or something like that, and we kind of assume it by default. No, what are some things that you can do when you are present that doesn't necessarily have to be on my plate, and start reassigning and delegating a lot of the stuff at home and at work. Delegation is for both places.
I love it. I love it. No, what about you?
So yeah, I agree with you, Gwendolyn, about setting those boundaries by saying no. That's a word that I'm actually quite comfortable saying. But I also think, at least in the work context, it was really about making sure my team saw me as a human. Because I think, especially when you hold like top roles, people just think you're like, you can do everything. You're a super person. And it's like, I need you to have empathy and compassion towards me as a human being. Just like I check in on you, I want you to check in on me, because sometimes like you don't actually know if someone is struggling. And something that I struggle with still today is the guilt that comes with rest.
Yes.
Oh, wait.
That's a whole nother conversation.
That's a mic drop right there. I don't have my mic, but the guilt that comes with rest. Go ahead,
Yes.
no, girl. Go on.
Yeah. So like I feel like there's an attachment to not setting some of those boundaries because of that, because it's like I should be able to, I have the capacity to, and to, like all three of you have given us like really great examples. And it makes me think of my mom, like watching my mom do all the crazy things to the point where I literally am like, I cannot be a mother because I don't see myself doing all that. Like that just seems just like unnecessary pressure and stress and no care. And like watching a lot of the older, like my mom and her sisters and my aunts, like how they are now, where it's like they're taking back their time, and us kind of reacting to be like, how are you not here for me when I called you? So it's really funny because it's like I see myself kind of doing that, but then also on the reverse being like, hey,
they will get over it. No, that's what I tell my kids. You will get over it and I will be back.
I love it. I love that. I love that because it's so funny. We're we're in the sandwich thing, right? It's like, yeah, I'm taking my time back. But then, like, what do you mean you're not coming to? What do you mean you're not cooking? I'm rolling too. What do you mean? You got
it's like what?
I'm your baby. I got you. Like, yeah, right. So it's so funny. I love that. I mean, I'm thinking like, oh yeah. But so one of the things that I used to do, and I kind of started doing it, because it gave me my time, was I started going to the gym. Well, I was doing that before I had kids and stuff, but once I had kids, it became a priority for me to like, I need to, so I would go to the gym, and in the gym I was in, and I would go work out in the room with the guys. So I wouldn't run into any of my girlfriends, right? Although I ran into a bunch of guy friends, but I would get in there, I'd put my headphones on, and they said, once I put my headphones on, don't talk to her.
Talk to me.
A whole other zone. I wave at you, but don't engage in no conversation. And that was the way for me to de-stress or release all that energy that was up here that needed to flow down and that needed to flow up. But not only that, it gave me peace of mind. And sometimes when I was having challenges, whether in my life or my business, the awareness of that challenge came up, and so did the answer. So it was very healing and restorative, releasing, grounding. And then I'd step out the gym and be that badass chick again, but more centered, more grounded, more focused. And I didn't have a problem telling people no. It was what I put upon myself that I had to do as the lineage of, one, being the only granddaughter in my generation of grandkids, and two, following what my mom did, my grandmothers did, so on and so forth. So it was almost like me being the only granddaughter. I took on a role that I had to continue doing what I saw that was being done, even if it was creating this huge mental load within me that I didn't even want to recognize was happening. So very, I'm loving this dialogue because I don't think we women talk about this. I don't think I've ever talked about this with any of my girlfriends. No. We just, or your mom, or they look at you like, what you mean? What you talking about? So it's important that we're having dialogue. Now, I want to take a quick break. And when I come back, we're going to talk more about this beautiful dialogue we're having. We're centering around mental load. But here's something I want you audience to know. I want to ask you all to think about what we're talking about and think about if any of this is resonating with you. The chat is available. You're free to comment when you see this, raise your hand, but think about if any of this is resonating with you. And we'll be back with more engaging conversation on the Bold Unstoppable Show. Stay tuned. Alrighty, welcome back to the Bold Unstoppable Show. And we've lost a couple of our panelists, but that's okay. Gwendolyn is here, and so we're gonna bring it home if it's just the two of us. We guarantee you won't leave empty-handed. You'll leave with a bowl full of greens, some homemade cornbread, some good old fried chicken, some potato salad, and some yams, and girl, a slice of that peach cobbler, some sweet potato pie. You're going to leave home full, basically. You're going to leave this show full with information to help you transform your life and release your mental load. Now, Gwendolyn, since you're still here with me, I want to ask you this. You know, many women struggle with asking for help or delegating. What helped you to break free, not only from the having to do it all mindset, because you shared some of that with us already, but allowing yourself to feel into the feeling of being overwhelmed and putting those barriers on at times when you needed to put them on?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things was understanding that boundaries aren't walls, right? They aren't really about keeping people out. They're more so about choosing when you want to open them, right? To protect yourself. And so back in 2013, I was diagnosed with systemic lupus. And so still having to manage that along with all of this invisible labor going on, I really recognized early on that it was important to figure out how to set those boundaries and give myself the permission to rest, right? So it was understanding that delegation is not an admission of weakness, right?
Say it again, girl. Say it again.
Delegation is not an admission of weakness. It just means that I need help in understanding that if I continue to carry everything myself, what I'm really saying is that nobody else has the ability to carry anything. And that's not necessarily true.
Right.
Right. So we have to give them that same opportunity to carry and develop themselves the way that we're trying to hold it off for ourselves. Service shouldn't be to our detriment, Dr. Rochel.
Right. Right.
It shouldn't be to our detriment. And so we have to know what's important to us.
I love what you're sharing. And some key words right there. Service doesn't have to be to our detriment.
Yes.
Service doesn't have to be to our detriment. I think sometimes we are misguided or we neglect to realize that service doesn't have to be a detriment.
Yes.
Neither does delegation.
Yes.
Delegation actually allows us to be more powerful in our stance of owning what we do, embracing and assisting those that we love and care about to understand the power of taking a break and making yourself the priority in your life, right? And so just amazing wisdom coming out of this panel show today for the Bold Unstoppable Show, because I think these are key reminders that we women need to remember. If you need to jot it down, if you need to take a phrase and put it on your phone and let it be your screensaver that we've shared today. If you just want to replay this show and share it with your girlfriends, have a little wine party, lemonade party, peach cobbler party, whatever it is, and just listen to the show, knowing that you're going to be getting some things that touched you. And if they touch you in a certain way, you need to pay attention to that. And then you're going to get the wisdom that the ladies have been sharing to help you navigate through that. Now, Gwendolyn, what does that thing, they call self-care? What is self-care? What kind of role does that take in managing one's mental load?
Oh my gosh, it's huge, right? It has to be one of the top pillars in your life. and you get to decide what that looks like, right? Self-care, I tell my cousin this all the time. I'm like, getting your nails done, getting your hair done, manicures and pedicures, that is not self-care. That is maintenance, right? That's maintenance. Self-care is what is bringing joy to my soul, what is refueling me, what's making me happy, what's giving me life again, right? What are those things that I can do? It might just be sitting in a corner, sipping some tea, drinking a book. It might be going, 60 minutes, by yourself. One of the things that I love to do is taking quarterly retreats with just me, locking myself in a room for 3 days. And I'm not your wife, your mother, your grandmother, your boss, you're nothing, right? It's me and room service and sleep and whatever else that brings me joy in the moment. So it has to be the pillar, because we can't serve from an empty cup, right?
Say that one more time.
You can't serve from an empty cup. If you are not full and you are giving and giving and giving, what happens to you? You're deteriorating. You're making sure everybody else's world keeps running and your world is falling apart.
Right. Man, I love that. So you can't serve from an empty cup. You can't serve from an empty cup. Eventually, the cup gets too hot, it breaks and shatters, particularly when it's empty and you're not replenishing it with what you need to do. So very important words of wisdom. And I want to thank you for sharing that. And we got to take one more quick break. And then when we come back, we'll go into the last question and then close out the show. But stay tuned, y'all. It's going to get even better as we close it out. But hopefully you all are understanding the importance of recognizing your mental load and releasing the mental loads, that you can continue to walk down your path to bliss and have that longevity, that vitality, that youthfulness that only you really truly can give to yourself. We'll be right back in just a few moments to the Bold Unstoppable Show. Welcome back to the Bold Unstoppable Show. And I'm Dr. Rochel Marie Lawson, the Queen of Feeling Fabulous. We're engaging in this wonderful topic of our mental load and why it matters and how to navigate this with the invisible work that we women do. And so, Gwendolyn, I want to ask you this. Have you ever had to advocate for yourself in a partnership, whether it be at home or at work or in your business, to create more equity? And if you did, what worked? And when I say equity, more equity with regards to managing and handling your mental load. And if you did, what worked and then what did not work?
Oh, yes, both personal and professional. I would say start small, right? Identify that one thing that somebody else can entirely own. I remember my husband and I having a conversation about the laundry, right? I'm like, I don't have capacity. I'm in school. We got 3 small children to take care of. I'm working a full-time job. I'm trying to keep up with work and all the things. I don't have time to be worried about who got clean clothes and who don't. You know what I'm saying? It's a real thing. And so I'm like, that means you got to take care of this part. I need you to get them from school on these days, right? So that I can focus on these things. And as you do it over time, the guilt starts to fade, right? Because there is that guilt part, as Nono talked about, that I'm not available. I'm not showing up for the kids. I'm not there to pick them up from school, or I'm not doing this. The things that society tells you mothers are supposed to be responsible for.
Yeah, right there.
You know what I'm saying? And so redefining what that looks like for you and your household, right? With your family, and forget what outsiders are saying it should be like. That was the key for us. And then not taking it back, right? Not taking it back. Being okay with that it might be 70% how you might have done it, or 80% of how you might have done it. Just being okay. Don't take it back. That's what creates the real freedom.
You said some wonderful words of wisdom, and I want to add to that, because I like how you said delegating to the spouse and then not taking it back. But we're going to take it a little bit further. Start teaching your children.
Yes.
Start teaching your children. They can do simple things beyond cleaning their room. You could teach them how to load the dishwasher, how to unload. And this is, little. Of course, as they grow up, you can incorporate more complex things, right? But, teach them how to, load the dishwasher, unload the dishwasher, clean up after if you have a dog or cat or whatever, something like that. Even just learning how to separate their clothes or straightening up their bathroom. When they have to do something, particularly if they're messy and they have to do something to clean up their own mess, they begin to pay attention because they do not want to clean up a mess, right? And so one of my friends, we were talking about our sons were young, how, they just get up and they just pee all over the place, right? Like this big old bowl, and how you missing it? Here's the thing, and I'm super like anal retentive with cleaning. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna fix him. You're going to learn how to clean up your bathroom, and I guarantee you'll get your aim straight. Well, it sounded kind of harsh, but the reality was that's what happened. And so what became a chore that I was doing, he took on, and because he was paying more attention to where he's going, he was able to do it efficiently, effectively, and clean, and didn't have the mess that he was leaving for me, not intentionally, because they were children, right? And children don't know until you point things out and show them. But it's the little incorporations of stuff. Straighten up your closet. If you can't wear this, pull it out the closet. Here's a bag. We can keep the bag, and then we can take these clothes and donate to, children less fortunate, or toys, or whatever it is. Picking up your toys. One go around. Me and my brother, we used to break our chores up. I would like whoever had to clean the kitchen did the vacuuming and the dusting, and then the other one did the clean the bathrooms and did all the other stuff. But it helped my mom, as a single mom, to be able to manage, the aspect of having to go to work, pick us up from school, all that kind of stuff. And, sometimes I wish I could have did more, but then when I had my kids, I'm like, oh, girl, you doing
great. Then you understood. Yeah. So it works the same way in the work environment, right? Mm-hmm. For those of us running businesses, delegating to your team, find out what their strengths are. Find out what's on your plate that can be delegated off. Make that a regular part of the conversation in the culture so that you are not the one that's picking it all up.
Exactly. Love that. As well as everything we said here, you can utilize the wisdom and the words that the panelists have shared, not only in your personal life, but in your business life. And if you're business owners, it's important to find out what ebbs and flows with people's personality and their natural tendencies. And when you find that out, which you can do by going to Blissful Living for You and take a dosha quiz, but when you find that out, then you can start delegating the tasks that you've assumed to those that are most fitted for it and will do the job successfully because it fits with their natural tendencies. All of this helps to release the mental load from all of us so that we can continue on our journey to having this wonderful, blissful life that we are meant to live. Now, we're coming to the close of the show, and I want to ask Gwendolyn, if you can, in 30 seconds or less, sum up your last piece of words of wisdom that you want to share with the listeners and viewers today.
Yes, I would say, remember that being, unstoppable, like we talked about, doesn't mean being overloaded, right? The mental load is real, but so is our power to release what doesn't belong to us and ask for the help without an apology, right? Because the goal isn't really to do it all, it's to do what we do well. And so let's invite people in to be a part of that.
Oh, I love it. Thank you for those words of wisdom, Gwendolyn Young. I love this. Okay, all of y'all. So, we've been engaging in some deep talk here. And this is, meant for women to embrace this information so that you can continue going down your path to bliss with more insight and wisdom to help you to stay healthy in your mind, body, spirit, and emotionally, whether it's in your personal life as well as in your career or business life. So, Queens, we shared this in a space today where something in a context that most people don't even talk about. And we never see what happens to them when they are exhausted from carrying that mental load. The mental load is loud, it's exhausting, it's invisible, And it has robbed too many women of their peace, their joy, their health, and sometimes their sense of self, as we all shared when we had our dialogue today. But I want to remind you right now, you are here not to carry everything, but to carry the things that you do best and that navigates with your internal energy and keeps you vibing healthy and well at a very high level. You are not required to be the overfunction lover, the neglected mother, the mother that doesn't take time for herself, the business owner that is overwhelmed and carries her work home and then doesn't have time to fully engage with her family and then goes back to work and doesn't really have time to fully engage with her team because she's carrying this big, heavy mental load. You get to set boundaries, ladies and gentlemen. You get to ask for help. You get to delegate and you get to reclaim your energy in your life when you understand that the mental load you are carrying is real and can be detrimental to every aspect of your physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional well being. I want to thank our incredible panelists that I've had today. Thank you for putting the words to what so many women let go and giving them real expectations instead of keeping those unrealistic expectations that so often stick to us like gorilla glue, right? And to the rest of you in our beautiful audience that are watching us, that are listening, I want to say to all of you, start small if you must, but you got to start now. Say no, rest, speak up, do not feel guilty for saying no. And most importantly, let your own well-being be the most sacred thing that you protect. I want to thank our sponsors, Blissful Living For You at blissfullivingforyou.com. Again, if you want to know about your true essence, the essence of your colleagues, your team, or your employees, you can have this wonderful quiz that provides you that information called the Dosha Quiz. And you can take one of those for free at Blissful Living, the number 4, the letter U.com. And it gives you words of wisdom that you can utilize so that you are not carrying such a heavy mental load. And I want to thank our other sponsor, All Day Cable Incorporated, that fabulous woman-owned telecommunication installation company located in the heart of Silicon Valley since 1990, that specializes in installing voice data, fiber optic cabling, and all things network distribution. If you have a need and you want a phenomenal company, you want to check out alldaycableinc.com. I'm Dr. Rochel Marie Lawson, your queen of feeling fabulous. And this has been another compelling, empowering, and phenomenally badass episode of the Bold, Unstoppable Show. And until next time, take care of your mind, honor your emotions, and protect your energy like it's your crown jewel, my queens and kings. Until next time, goodbye for now.